Or anytime you want, Mike.
Okay, let's all rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dave, do you want me to share the screen or you find you have the copy in front of you?
If you could share the screen, that would be great. I appreciate it because I don't have a copy in front of me. I have my notes, but I don't have.
All right,
other stuff.
it's easy enough to do.
As usual, our first item is the consent agenda minutes of the regular meeting of July 20th, 2022.
Can I do roll call first?
Do we have to? Yeah, let's do roll call first, sorry.
Lee Harrison,
Yes, I'm here.
Parker,
Yes,
Roger Tom,
Present.
Jim Snyder.
Present.
All right.
now we're moving on to item 1. The
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second? Okay. Roll call, please.
Kay Harrison,
Yes,
Mike Parker,
Yes.
Roger Tom,
Yes.
Jim Snyder.
Yes.
Okay, we go on to finance updates, but
Okay,
we
this
don't have
is
a finance person.
Brenda should be on the Zoom, so
Okay,
are you there, Brenda?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So you guys have the unaudited fourth quarters in front of you for fiscal year 22. Before I get into, on a side note, the auditors will be here Tuesday and Wednesday, October 18th and 19th. They'll only be visiting us for 2 days. So looking at the fourth quarter, ended everything as budgeted. There was a few items we had to use some of our contingency fund, but that was budgeted for, except for one item. So typically what we do is in Fund 70, we try to leave right around 100,000 in the ending fund balance, and we move all the other revenue over to Fund 55. So we receive a lot of septage in 70, but at year end we're to move over, leaving 100,000. I did not do that last year, so the ending fund balance was 400,000. And on top of that, we earned a little over 300,000 more in septage than we had budgeted for in fiscal year 22. So as a result, I had to move over $600,000 from Fund 70 to Fund 55 to keep in with our policy of leaving 100,000 in Fund 70, which is our treatment or lagoon fund.
the lagoon fund.
So I did talk to the auditors about it, gave them a heads up. What'll happen with that is the auditors will just put a notation in our audit that we did not budget for this additional septage revenue, and we may get a letter from the state saying you didn't follow your budget. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. So it may just, be a notation on our audit. No big deal. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up that we did not budget all the additional septage revenue that we received last year in fiscal year 22.
Okay, so it's a protocol, goober, as it were.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Yeah.
But they will note it as if
encouraging.
it was, we just couldn't budget for it,
Yeah, we like having more revenue than but yeah. So that goes into 55, that's Shady Cove, isn't it?
55 is, we call it our treatment capital reserve. So it's for capital projects, both at Shady Cove and at the lagoons. So
Oh. Okay,
and, you know, those lagoons just, you know, we try to budget conservatively on the revenue out there, but they keep on bringing more than what we expected.
Oh, darn.
yeah, really.
This isn't one of those cases where we violate that 10% rule. We have to actually vote in chambers here.
Violate what?
The 10% rule, if you go over.
Yes, yeah, so I think that's, did you hear that question, Brenda?
No, I did not.
About, you know, if our expenses or our budget goes 10% more than what we budgeted for, then that's what we're gonna get a letter about.
Correct. And so it's not so much the revenue in Fund 70 that we're gonna get in trouble for, it's that we move it over into Fund 50 to be spent in there. We do it per policy, you know, per budget, and that was fine. We just didn't budget enough revenue to be moved into 55 than we did. So that's the budget notation violation, quote unquote, that it'll be noted.
Okay.
Retroactively approved or anything that.
I don't think so, no, because we're still following the same policy that we've had all along. It just, you know, there's just more money than we expected.
Okay,
Yeah, it's not a big deal. And at worst case, the state will see that notation in our audit. The state will send us a letter. The auditors will send a letter back saying, we apologize. We'll work harder at budgeting properly in the future. It's nothing. It's not a big deal at all.
okay.
So that's all we need on, do you have any more?
Nope, that's all.
Thank you.
Unless you guys have any questions about the fourth quarter financials.
This won't keep her from getting that illustrious award for.
Should not, no.
Job.
It's
Oh,
a
no,
good
no, no,
thing.
Even though.
Even though it's
You never know what
a
the
good
state's gonna
thing.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Thanks, Brenda.
thank you.
all right.
All right, project update.
This is Nick.
Yeah, make sure you guys can hear me.
We can hear you.
All right, sounds good. So, starting at the top, we've got Antelope Road. We went over this last month. And the only update on this is we've started our conversations with the railroad. The railroad out in White City has changed hands. It used to be the White City Railroad District or something similar. It was a very small outfit that subsequently was very easy to work with. Unfortunately, Genesee and Wyoming is the big dog on the block in the Northwest as far as railroads concerned, and they're also really, they're not the best to work with. Let's just put it that way. Their fees are high and they don't move very fast for doing any work inside of their railroad right of way. And they like to charge people a monthly or a yearly lease to have any utilities inside of their right of way. So it's something we're gonna have to deal with. It's not something that's out of our wheelhouse. We've done it before. I've done it at other agencies. So we've just started that conversation as soon as possible so we can move forward. The West Glenwood, no movement there. Still waiting for delivery on pumps. Shady Cove Pump Station 6. We've ordered the pump equipment and hopefully we'll get that a little bit sooner than the West Glenwood. But fingers crossed, we'll see. Brophy Pump Station abandonment. This project is complete. The administrative portion of it is also complete. We had a final payment of $65,000 and change. 49,000 or so of that was the change order for the unstable trenching conditions, additional materials, excavation, etc. That's quite a bit less than the 168,000 they asked for. So we stuck to our guns and got it down to a reasonable price, which is what that was anticipated. But so that's another one in the books, which is good. Shady Cove Pump Station number 2, there's no movement on that project. Vilas Siphon Abandonment, no movement on that project. Lagoon process and wetland improvements. The contractor's fully mobilized on site, and he's has actually started work. So we're off to the races. They're going to start installing the bottom portion of this, which is the under drain under the lagoons. So we'll just more to come on that project. We're hoping that they're going to have enough time to complete it. They're kind of getting up against the rainy season, which is what we're really worried about, but we're pushing on them pretty hard at this point. We've started weekly progress meetings just to make sure that they know that we know they're behind and we want them to get moving. So, okay. These next few projects here are on the capital program, but we haven't really talked about them much. But I've included them here. These are mostly water quality projects. So the top one there, I think Jenny's mentioned this in the past, the West Valley View Road project. This is a project that we participated in through our stormwater incentive program and donated some dollars to have the city of Talent install stormwater planters as a part of their road diet. And that's under construction and underway. It's moving kind of slow, but they're administering that project. So RH2 is the engineer of record. So any of you that have gone through that corridor there have seen it, and it's a bit cumbersome to get through there right now, but it'll be done soon. Q014 7th Street Stormwater Facility. We've talked about this a little bit. We're partnering with a property owner developer who's doing a project out there, and Carl actually spearheaded the discussion on this on the front end and had the developer agree to give us an easement to construct a regional facility. All of that front end legwork is done at this point, and now we're on to kind of the design and implementation of it. But unfortunately, there are wetlands out there, and in a past life, Jenny was a wetland mitigation specialist. So she's spearheading that effort, and as is per usual, the federal agencies are not making it easy. So basically, there was a wetland delineation previously performed. She originally had asked for any information regarding any delineation that was on the books for this property, and came back, nothing came back. And now it sounds like there was actually one done, and she had to file I can't remember the exact terminology. Carl, do you remember what it's called? It's like a
public records request.
Public records request for to the Corps for any of those previous delineations. So we're waiting in that, I guess, that bureaucratic quagmire, but it's moving forward. So we do have another one. Sorry, I actually skipped Q013. I went a little too quick there. This has kind of been a bit of a pet project of mine. This project is right down on West Valley View Road, very close. It's the old Walmart parking lot. I think we've discussed it in the past, but we're partnering with a local developer property owner to realign the existing storm drain on that property and build a regional facility that would take on about 50 acres of upstream drainage basin and would meet our future stormwater requirements for retention and detention. It's just a perfect spot for it. And, you know, originally the developer didn't want to do it. This year they came back and said, hey, how about we donate that property to you to be able to do it? So we're now, fast forward to right now, I just sent off the proposed sales agreement for them to donate the property to us today. So everybody's in agreement, and Carl's actually applied for Clean Water State revolving funds for that project, and
Cool.
we're pretty excited about it. At least I am. I put put a lot of work into that one. I wanted to see one we'll go through.
A little bit of background on that. Can I interrupt you real quick, Nick?
Yeah,
So when when Nick first identified the location, they contacted the property owner. And they were willing to sell us, I think they wanted about $130,000 for this strip of parking lot. And what we were offering them, right now, they've got a 30-inch storm drain that cuts diagonally across their property. So it really wrecks any chance they have for developing. So, you know, what we were offering them is that we would realign that and we would build the facility, and that facility would address all of their stormwater quality issues on their property when they develop. I mean, they're getting a really good deal out of it, but then they decided that it was way valuable and they want more money for it. When we told them we weren't going to pay them anything, it kind of went to sleep for a while, but I think they realized that what they were being offered was a pretty good deal. And this is going to take care of a big chunk of downtown talent as well. So it is a really good project.
yeah, no, it's a good one. It's a perfect spot for it. It's pretty easy to identify. We've got a few more of those kind of in our back pocket. We just have to get the property owners to agree to it. So hopefully more to come, more of these to come. So Shady Cove, SCADA and UV disinfection. This is another project that we haven't really discussed in this arena, but oh, I guess we did a little bit. But our UV disinfection system would replace the chlorine gas disinfection facility, which is just altogether a mess. It's dangerous. It's hard to get chlorine gas. Kevin's been beating that drum for quite some time, and so Carl's applying for Clean Water State revolving funds for this project as well. And I think the general premise at this point is we're going to combine those two projects for the UV and the SCADA together and have a consultant come in and take a look at that. The SCADA by itself, we have no business doing that in-house. The UV, we could probably do a design build by basically by Trojan or Inaqua or one of the distributors of those systems. They kind of do a one-stop shop, but we'd still need SCADA incorporated into that system. So we're just going to go ahead and get a consultant to come on and couple those together and administer it. And we just need to put the RFQ out to do that. So, all right, that's basically the long and short of it. That's all we have.
Jenny's out of town this week, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Guess we need to go to Shane. Are you aboard?
I am. Good afternoon.
Hey.
All right, collection system footage is a note. You see there on special cleaning. Root saws dominated the month. The root sawed 42,890 feet. That's a pretty significant number. That's pretty time consuming. So I look at that as a significant win for the month. That's we have about 387 pipe segments in our system that have root issues. So that's a great number for the month. Kudos to the Flusher guys. White City Storm Drain, they also got one of the basins out there done. So they flushed 1,295 feet. The TV crew will be up next, going back behind them and video inspecting the system that they flushed out there. Lagoons, 149,700 gallons of septage, 52,235 gallons of porta potty waste, and 40,745 gallons of fog were received for a total of $36,402. Gold Hill Special Cleaning did 1,616 feet and is flushing request of 429. And special cleaning summary, as a result of the root saw list and the amount of footage, that was the bulk of the hours on not only equipment but labor hours spent last month for a total cost of $29,050. One item of significance, we did some outside work for Oregon Department of Transportation. We video inspected a storm drain pipe at milepost 18 on Interstate 5 for them. And that request generally comes from the Ashland office. up there on Tolman Creek Road. Pump station's always quiet, nothing of any significance, although that could change this afternoon or tonight based on the weather outlook when I just looked out here before the meeting. So could be an exciting night for the on-call person. Building grounds, our AC unit for the boardroom has been repaired, and that's operational again. And vehicles and equipment, we have received and it's been delivered the second dump truck. So
Yay.
it's almost ready to go. We just got to put some stickers on the door, I think, is the last item of note. So it's here. And that's all I have. Like I said, pretty business as usual, quiet month of
Shane,
July.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I should know the answer, but I don't. Where does all this flushing sewage go? Does it continue on down the line to the plant, or do you take it out and dump it out there, or what?
No, they get chopped up and sent down the pipe. So they'll end up either in a pump station or the plant.
So
There probably shouldn't be too much left of them. I think a few years ago, I had a video of kind of how the process works. I had Tim come show aboard how the actual nozzle works, and it's pretty destructive. It's a nozzle that has 3 giant chains that ride on the end of it with 3 giant anvils on the end of the chains.
So there's a lot of
So when that thing
solid
gets-
in what you're flushing, is that right?
A lot of what?
A lot of solid waste that you are chopping up and flushing along?
Yeah, it really just shreds the roots into,
Right.
there's not much to them.
Bark dust.
Yeah, the bulk of the roots either come from the side of the pipe or on top. We don't get too many that come from the bottom. So this time of year is ideal for that kind of work because the flows are typically low because we don't have any I&I in there, and flows overall in general are low because of summertime. So it allows that nozzle to spin a lot faster and not get slowed down by any excess water in the pipe. So it really pretty much shreds them to pieces. There's not much left to send down the pipe other than some puree. It's a pretty violent process with those anvils. And when you get in a concrete pipe, the video from the other side is it's a lot of sparks.
I'm surprised that doesn't damage a lot of the piping.
Well,
Actually, sometimes it has. And we've actually damaged some absurdities too from doing that. But go ahead, Carl.
yeah, I mean, it's ideally it's sized to be right in the center, and so it just kind of skims right at the very edge of
Gotcha.
it. But if it gets out of balance, it gets off, then it could. And if you got like a protruding service, it'll make hash of that.
What I'll do for the next board meeting is I'll have them run another video of it so you can kind of get brought up to speed again since it's been a while, see how the process works from inside the pipe and give you a better perspective on it. But
All right, well, thanks for the info.
But it doesn't cause.
You bet, sir.
It allows leakage out of the pipes. Doesn't damage the inside of the pipe so much that it leaks out.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it does touch the inside of the pipe, but it's made to go very close but not.
Right.
But like you said, I mean, in the concrete part, sometimes it shoots sparks.
I was thinking on the concrete pipe, you could catch something or
Yeah,
crack it, make it crack larger or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, and it's not, I mean, if it's hitting the plastic pipe, it's kind of shaving against it.
Yeah.
It's not smashing it.
Must be powerful as heck though, to cut
Yeah.
those roots,
It is.
although it's not intentional, there's been a few instances where we have damaged the pipe and therefore the pipe had to be dug up and repaired. So therefore we didn't have to worry about that being on the root list the next time go around. So,
Yeah,
so it's kind of up to the operator how long he makes the chain can decide if they're going to go back there again next year.
That's why I asked the question. I was wondering if you had to replace the pipe. It sounds like a couple of
Yeah.
instances you had. Okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
thanks, Shane.
You bet.
Okay, let's see where we want to go next.
Next is me. Start off talking about Jim. I mean, obviously, you've all heard that Jim passed. We made copies of the obituary that they put in the paper, and I think that headline kind of summarizes how everyone felt about Jim.
Yep.
Yeah, it's that, in a nutshell, that's who he was. And that's, it was pretty unexpected and pretty sudden. And I don't know any more details beyond that. And I don't know, haven't heard yet about any plans for a memorial service, but as soon as I do, I'll make sure everybody is aware of that. I mean, that really sucks because Jim he was good.
Yeah. He was my age. That's way too young.
He's older than I thought he was. He was 77. I didn't
Yeah.
realize he was that old.
No, he didn't look it.
What do you mean, 77 is not old? 90 is old.
You're right.
Anyway, we're gonna have to go through the process of appointing someone else to fill the vacancy again, so. Maybe some direction from you guys. Do you want me to try to do any recruitment, or how do you want to go about doing that?
We could just tap Mike Parsons.
You could do that.
And then, yeah.
And,
He had nothing to
you know,
do anyway.
He is between the door and everyone else, so I don't think we could get him if you made it for him.
I thought he was Sergeant of Arms.
But that's always an option. And again, this would be whatever appointment you make would run until June of next year. And the election in May would be to fill, I mean, this is Wayne Brown's seat that we're talking about still. So the election that we hold in May would be to fill the remainder, which would go to 2025.
May of next year.
So yeah, in May is a regular election, and then whoever you appoint in that, they would have to run for re-election.
Right.
And that election will be to fill the remainder, last 2 years of the term.
Do you have any list of?
I don't, I mean, last time, when we filled Wayne's vacancy, we were just looking at Jim and Mike,
Yeah.
and I haven't looked any further.
And there's no legalities about how we need to go about it with the
There's-
process.
I did a lot of look into that, and there's really nothing. I mean, as long as a person is eligible to be on the board, you can appoint them. You can use any process you want.
I think we ought to use the same process as to nominate him or her here until May of next year. Encourage them to use this as a learning period and then run for office then.
And it has to be agendized, right? So we have to actually, maybe the next meeting, hold an agenda item that says we need to nominate.
Okay, yeah, that'd probably be cleaner, yeah, or more transparent.
Yeah, Jim's right. That's what we should do, is put it on the agenda for next time.
Okay, do you want me to, I guess, do you want me to see if there's any other interest? Or
Yeah,
just
I would-
ask for
I think
people
that's a good
to
idea.
Give us a letter of interest or anything like that?
I mean, we can all scour our minds, see if anyone else on the board or has someone, but you definitely would help us there.
Yeah, I mean, usually, I mean, this doesn't happen often, but, when there are vacancies, my first place I look is gonna be our budget committee. And, Mike's on the budget committee. And, we can let the budget committee know that there's a vacancy, and if they're
Right.
interested, they can send us a letter. And then we'd have to backfill the budget committee, and I usually try to go to city councils to do that. So how about if I do that? How about if I contact the budget committee, let them know there's a vacancy, and if any of them are interested, to send us a letter indicating their interest. And then we'll provide that to the board and you guys can make a choice in September.
That sounds fine.
Is it worth contacting city councils as well?
I can, I mean, you know, we're, you know, yeah, I can do that. I can, you know, I would probably go through the city managers.
Right.
But yeah, I can let them know that there's a vacancy and if, you know, we'd like to, someone involved at the council and if anyone is interested to send us a letter of interest and I'll do it that way.
That's actually a really good idea because Jim more or less represented Jacksonville. So that's a good idea to contact the city managers and as well as the budget committee.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, next item, Gold Hill.
Never heard of them.
So the city manager of Gold Hill resigned. I tried to call him.
And they're surprised.
That's the guy we talked to a couple months ago, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, no wonder they never talked to us about what they
Yeah.
really want to do, because they know they're not going to be around for 2 weeks.
yeah, so. How do I want to go back now? You know, he's resigned and supposedly is going to stick around and help with the transition, but I don't know how, if that's going to happen or not. When we extended the contract, we did this in June, we extended our agreement for 1 year. And there was, at least to me, there was an expectation that they were going to make a final decision on what was going to be the disposition of the treatment plant, because they're under orders from DEQ to get that fixed. They haven't made any decision. They haven't really taken any concrete steps that would get them to make a decision. I mean, they're kind of talking about a lot of peripheral stuff, but I mean, they're not anywhere closer to making a decision than they were a month or a year ago. The MAO they have with DEQ, talking in letters now. MAO is Memorandum of Agreement and Order, and that's DEQ's enforcement action. Dates back to 2012 and had a whole laundry list of things they need to do. And kind of the last of it is you got to do something with this treatment plant. So they had a deadline of September last year to submit a pre-design report for the treatment plant. But they haven't done that, obviously. They haven't even decided what to do. So they can't have an engineer do a pre-design report when they don't even know what they're going to design. And they've completed their facilities plan, and that's been approved by DEQ, and it gave them a variety of options, different ways to rebuild the treatment plant, or making a regional interconnection with us. But they've yet to make that decision. Our agreement with them stipulates that one of the things that they're required to do is to comply with the MAO. But they're in violation of the MAO, which puts them in violation of our agreement. So they're kind of in violation of the agreement that we have and have been for a while. And I guess the question really is how much longer are we going to do this? And it's getting a little frustrating on our end just to have to basically spinning our wheels. I mean, we've tried to give them whatever advice, whatever information we can, and it just it doesn't seem to be progressing anywhere. And when I think about it, I mean, there's a couple of different ways we could approach this. I mean, we could, we've got this 1 year agreement through the end of June. We could just say, okay, we're just going to tough it out. We'll honor our end of the bargain. You guys are going to do whatever you're going to do, but we'll keep things operating for that. I mean, that's one option. At the very other extreme, we could declare them in default and say, we're done. You guys have had 5 years to address this. They haven't addressed it. We're not going to do it again. We can give them 30 days notice, and then according to the agreement, we've got like a 3-month transition where we'll help them assume control. Or we could do something in between, I don't know, but I guess what I'm looking for is kind of, some guidance from the board about, how we want to approach this. Do we want to just toughen out for the next 9 months? Or do we want to just force the issue, just wash our hands of the whole thing?
I think if they're gonna have to wait 30 days, you said, plus another 90, that's already 4 months of the 9. And it'll take you some amount of time to do paperwork, let's assume a month. So now it's 5 months out of 9 that we're still going to be doing things. We're going to be dropping off 4. That's not a huge savings.
Right.
But I really suspect that what they're facing is the decision they're having to make is in the too hard box for them because they have no option that they can sell to the people in the city. And so they're always going to drag their feet in ad infinitum forever. So I would think that the practicality is another 4 months isn't too bad, I guess, unless you say it is. But at that point, this is the end. I notify them well in advance, like, next week or whenever. But the end of the 9 months.
It is high.
Was that Kay?
I agree with Jim. I let them know that the end is nigh. Give them the 30 days and let's invoke, the termination according to what the operation plan is. And, because they've been in violation for almost a whole year and it's time. We need to push and we can hang on to the end of June, but I think it's better to just cut it because we'll still be with them for 4 months at least.
I agree with that approach, and I think the threat needs to be shown to them as in 4 months or whatever, well, we're out of here, or immediately, however, unless, and show them the other option. You guys make a decision that you want to join RVS or whatever.
Yeah, the general sense that I get from the council is that that's not what they want to do. But I guess, kind of what I was thinking is perhaps, the ultimatum we give them is you have to make a decision and give them a date certain, end of September, whatever. And if you don't, we're going to consider you in default. If they decide that their decision is going to be, we're going to rebuild the plant, that's fine. If they make that decision and are moving in that direction, then I don't have as much of a hesitancy to finish out the year and do it that way. But if they keep kicking it down the road, it just doesn't. It's not a good approach. And I think, to a certain extent, I think our presence is harming them because we're making it so easy for them to not make a decision.
Just not don't do anything.
I agree, Carl. But now we're making them. We're allowing them to. We're fostering an atmosphere of being able to put it out because we're there. Mm-hmm. And I think if we put in that 30-day thing and just keep going forward on that, and unless we get a response that shows something different, I think everybody's better off if we do that. Just cut it off.
Aside from making a decision on their part to do something, if we set a termination date, whether it's 4 months or the end of June, whatever it is in that shorter time span, on the very next morning, what are they going to be doing?
Well, there is a guy, who's the public works director over at River, he was running the plant before we got there. He currently operates their water plant, and they're talking to him about what to do also. I mean, so it wouldn't be like they're completely abandoned and there's no option for them to operate. They have a person available to them. So it wouldn't be we're walking away and there's nobody going to look at that plant. It's just going to fall apart, you know,
Right.
but so, you know, and I know that they're talking with him, you know, about trying to find some way to not have to rebuild the plant, but still make DEQ happy somehow, but I don't know any details of that, but
As long as they have an option after
Yeah.
we stop, then we're not the bad guys in press releases. They're
Yeah.
gonna say RVSS abandoned us and die and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
I think it can still come out that way.
it could, yeah.
It kind of depends on how, was a letter written to the city of Gold Hill that we're extending them a year?
Yeah, we signed, I mean, we've got an agreement signed by the mayor and all
Well,
that.
aren't they, yeah, I would think the reply is you can't quit right now. We have an agreement from you for till the end of the year.
But we also have an agreement that says we can terminate.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be violating the contract. The contract
Right.
has two provisions. One, it says if they're in default or violation of the agreement, we can walk out with 30 days notice. And it also says that for any reason we want to, we can walk out with 90 days notice.
And how are we getting paid on this?
They pay us every month in advance. It's like $30,000 a month.
Regardless of what we run into?
Right, yeah, it's not tied to, you know, it's a lump sum.
Okay.
So,
So what specifically do we think they're in violation of on our agreement?
our agreement says that, and I can go grab it, but you know, one of their requirements is that they have to comply with all the terms and conditions of the MAO. And they haven't done that. And DEQ's to their enforcement wing. I mean, they haven't done anything yet, but that process is ongoing because they had a deadline a year ago to complete their preliminary design report. So that's where I would say that they are in violation. They were supposed to make this decision 2-3 years ago.
So they're
Yeah,
they're a year past the DEQ already. And the DEQ isn't getting after them either.
no,
Yes.
they're not. They're not moving very quickly on it.
But if we did, well, that's the way DEQ works sometimes. Would it make a difference if will the DEQ put pressure on them if we're out of the picture?
That's one of the phone calls I need to make and talk to DEQ about that. I haven't done that yet. But I would think that it would create more of a sense of urgency on their part.
Yeah. So,
I mean, yeah, I think, we've held it together for them for over 5 years now. And, I think in part because of that lets people feel okay about not moving forward and fixing things because they just assume that we've got it covered. And so far we have.
So based on this conversation, can you draft something, a proposal that next meeting we vote on? Or
Yeah.
what do you need?
I can do that, yeah.
yeah, I like that idea, Mike.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll have a chance to probably talk to DEQ on, by then. And, talking to the city's tough because they're not always there.
Yeah.
So, we might have a little bit of a better sense of something from them, but like I said, just based on history, I don't expect much.
Well, and you should receive an answer back from DEQ, shouldn't you, Carl?
Yeah, I should.
Are they hard to get a hold of sometimes?
No, John Gassick's pretty responsive, I mean, if I send him an email, I usually get a response within a day or two.
Okay, good.
Did you want to talk, Roger?
Yeah, Roger would like to talk to us.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Kay. Hey, I mean, I feel like 3 months ago, we gave him a pass for another year. And unless something's just super egregious, I got a hard time not giving them the last 9 months. But as we all understand, this is the last 9 months. It's final when we get to that point. But it'd be hard for me to be on board taking it away from them right now.
I have an opinion, not an opinion, but a question. Can I ask the question?
Go ahead.
So Jerry Breckenridge has announced his resignation. Was he the driving force behind putting the issue and getting approved through city council? Is he the fall guy right now where city council is saying, we don't need your input anymore, you're out of here, or you can't handle the job?
I don't,
Knowing that they're gonna be able possibly to push this back a little longer than the 9 months?
I don't think so, but I'll give you kind of our history. So we got involved in 2017 with Gold Hill. They were having all kinds of problems. They came to us and asked us to, at first just run the plant for on a month to month, and then we rolled that into a permanent, to a 5-year agreement. In that time, Jerry's the 5th city manager. We've had at least 3 mayors, and there's not a single person on the city council that was there when we started. So, I mean, as far as, I don't know there's any driving force, I guess. And,
There's a lack of one. Then.
yeah, when, a year ago, with the previous city manager, I kept telling her, our contract expires in a year. We need to, address that. We need to go forward. She didn't want to do it because the new guy's coming in. New guy comes in, he doesn't, he's fresh, he doesn't know anything about it. So he doesn't, and that's why it kept getting pushed back until, we took us all the way to June before we got it all settled out.
Yeah, this latest is
Yeah.
just a repeat of what's happened several
Yeah.
times.
And that, and I mean, I get where Roger's coming from with that. We did agree to do it for another year. We can honor that commitment. But it is, but I do want to have the discussion because, it is very, I guess somehow we got to get their attention and they're going to make some decisions, and it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, the feeling you get from them is they just don't want to make a decision, and we'll just drag it on as long as we can.
Yeah, and I get it because, it's a huge, the amount of money is a lot for a small little town like that. And, the impact on their sewer rates is going to be huge.
Yeah, for a population of 10 people.
Yeah, that's why I think it's in the too hard box. No matter what they choose, they probably can't fund that option anyway.
Right.
And so they can't make a decision because they can't do anything. But it's going to keep them, inertia is going to keep them right where they are now. In the back of my mind, I'm just wondering why the heck they haven't gone to unincorporate themselves and turn themselves back into the county. Let the county handle it, not be a city anymore. Because they certainly can't function as a city. They have no leadership and they have no administration that's consistent over any length of time. And maybe they just don't deserve to be a city.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And they all could go back on septic tanks?
Well, no.
Yeah, or the county will ask us to do the work for them, for the county.
County will start paying us.
Shady Cove had that discussion a lot, about whether or not they should disincorporate. And I think they finally figured out that they don't need to, but, places like that, they have a hard time keeping it together sometimes.
Yeah, they do. A small population and relatively poor population in terms of economics. There's not much money there.
Yeah.
And you reach a point where you're broken and there's nothing you can do except walk away from the whole thing. And that would be not being a city anymore, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the county takes over if they want to. They extract the taxes and they ask us to do the work. But that ain't going to happen anytime soon until they realize that they're just not a city.
Yeah, I think there's 1 or 2 examples in Oregon of that happening, but it's not, I mean, there is a process for that.
There is a process to do that. It's not necessarily what is in the best interest of everybody to do that. It could be a practical thing, but it's not necessarily the best thing to do for Gold Hill. I think Roger's got extremely good points that, because we did say we go until June. I think the thing that I'm thinking of too is if it's, are we beating a dead horse? Are they going to do anything? Because DEQ isn't even doing anything.
Yeah.
And with that fact too, are we just, you know, even when we extended it for a year, I thought about it. Are we just making it harder? Because the longer they wait, the more expensive it's going to be, and the harder the decision is going to be. And one of the decisions might be what Jim has indicated, is looking at, do we want to stay a city or not?
Yeah.
And I'd hate to see him go that way. I really would. So, you know, I'm good with just staying the course until June.
Mhm.
But I would also like the information from DEQ, Carl, if we decided to go ahead and terminate, what would DEQ's reaction be?
Yeah, okay, I'll try to suss that out of DEQ and see what they have to say about it, and try to get some kind of movement from the city itself. But yeah, I guess, you know, we've talked about potential for annexation in the past, and I don't know, I guess my sense is that's probably not something we want to do at this point.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe I could relay that message to them. That,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. All right, we'll talk more about it next month.
Okay, good.
The can down the road like they do.
That's what we'll do. Okay, surplus property. I got a couple of dump trucks that we're trying to unload and some other things. One of the things that I'd like to do that's a little different than what we've done in the past is when we have surplus vehicles, is work that through the state surplus property auction. Before, we've kind of done it, you know, put on Craigslist, you know, done a little bit of our own marketing. You know, I think from a transparency point of view, it's a lot cleaner to, even though we probably don't get as much money for it, to work with the state and just, you know, unload our equipment, our excess equipment that way. And if you agree with that, I've got a contract for you. There's an agreement that we would have with the state that kind of lays out the conditions. And basically, like, if you want to sell a surplus truck, we give them the information, they advertise it, they do all the paperwork and everything, and they keep 13% of the auction price. So
Oh, wow. Well,
they get a good chunk of it, but like I said, I think it's a little bit of a cleaner way to go. And if that's agreeable, I've got, I put the actual agreement in the packet. It would have to be signed by Kay when she gets back, but it's not a huge rush right now if that's agreeable to you.
I would suspect that if you stayed with the way you have been doing it yourself, so to speak, that there's a certain amount of labor hours, costs, and maybe some other administrative costs that you have to do anyway, which would offset part of the loss from having somebody else do it for you.
Yeah,
Like a used car, when you buy
yeah.
a new one, you know.
Yeah, we wouldn't be, we would still probably keep everything here, so we would still have some time spent, you know, if people come to look at this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a little bit of the paperwork we wouldn't have to do.
Yeah, if it speaks to me, maybe the labor hours they were going to use under the older system diverted them from doing other things. There's opportunity cost loss
Mhm.
that you have when you do it yourself. So might be a wise thing to do.
I'm good with doing it that way.
Okay.
It's how it works out.
I think we want a formal board decision on that. A motion.
Yeah.
You want to vote?
Yes, please.
Yeah, we need a motion.
Okay,
This would be to approve the contract for sale of surplus equipment with the Oregon Department of Administrative Services.
someone want to make that a motion?
Okay, I move that we do the contract with the state of Oregon for this disposal of surplus materials.
I'll second.
Motion and second, any other discussion?
What, just, this is probably the standard contract that everybody in the state signs
Yes.
that wants to have property disposed of, so.
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Kay Harrison,
Yes,
Mike Parker,
Yes.
Roger Toon,
Yes,
Jim Snyder.
Yes.
Okay, next thing is also a procurement issue. We're wanting to buy some new furniture for the O&M office. Kind of fix up the desk layout. We're getting, well, right now we're kind of short staffed, but once we get everyone back hired that we're trying to hire, the space for everyone is kind of limited. So Shane got a quote back in January when we did the budget to reconfigure the office furniture and get phone hookups and everything. It was about $15,000. And so we've got the final quote from the company that we solicited from, but under our contracting guidelines, anything over $5,000, we're supposed to at least try to solicit competitive bids. And we haven't done that. There is an exception where you can approve a sole source procurement. Basically, if what we want is only available from one place, the board can say, okay, buy that from that one place. This is kind of a customized office supply company that we're working with, and we've used them before. The question is whether or not you would consider that available from only one place, or would you want us to go out and try to solicit some extra bids on that? I think it's a pretty good price for what we're getting out of it. But I guess if you agree that it could be a sole source, then we'll go ahead and issue the award. If not, then we'll go and try to solicit some extra bids and see if we can come up with something.
that was approximately, that was done in January. Are the prices going to go up? now that it's-
We got it refreshed, and it actually was lower than what the original bid was.
Okay,
I think I heard you say furniture, but also electronics.
Yeah, it's kind of it's an office setup. So it includes both desk space and make sure the phone jacks. And,
is this with Workspace or is this with one of the other companies in
yeah,
town?
it's workspace.
Okay,
And we've done, I mean, they've done like all our cubicles, and they've done a lot of work for us in the past too.
yeah, they've done stuff for other companies I've worked for. They're pretty reliable.
Yeah.
The thing I didn't hear you mention is what's going to be done with what now becomes surplus desks and whatever you already have. How's that going to be handled?
Yeah, we would have surplus desks that we would dispose of. We have a new way to do that now.
Oh, so they wouldn't remove, you're not paying them to remove that and dispose?
No,
of it?
no, the desks that we have right now, we would just surplus those out.
I don't know that you can, the state, if I read it right, there has to be $1,000 plus or minus minimum value on.
Yeah,
the
there is.
stuff
So
you send
yeah,
to
the
them?
desk, with something like desks, a lot of times with things like that, we're allowed to donate them to like nonprofits.
Yeah, okay.
Or other government agencies. So that'd probably be our first move on something like that.
I'd move for approval of sole sourcing on office furniture with, what's the name of the company?
What was the company?
Workspace.
It's Workspace is the name of the company.
With Workspace.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Kay Harrison,
Yes,
Mike Parker.
Yes.
Roger Toll,
Yes.
Jim Snyder.
Yes,
So that was to make them sole source procurement.
Yes, thank you.
We can get it out of our hair. Oh, look at the next item. This is a good one. Manager performance review.
We're gonna do the claims first.
See, I knew you'd
So
do
we're gonna
that.
do the claims first, and then we're gonna turn off the recording and go into executive session.
Okay. Anyone want to,
oh, I moved that we pay the bills.
I'll second.
motion and second to pay the bills on the claims listing? Any other discussion? Roll call then.
Kay Harrison,
Yes,
Mike Parker,
Yes.
Roger Toll,
Yes.
Jim Snyder.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna go into executive session. I'm gonna turn off the recording. Mike, you need to read the script.
I'm on my way.
Okay, thanks, Mike. See you next month.
So do you want to come back next month and just get sworn in?
That's your decision.
We need a letter.
Yes.
we need the letter.